Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to my series where we're making a game similar to the game The Binding of Isaac. In the last video, we made these corner rooms, and I've updated them so that they look a lot cooler now, and there's a bunch more options for them. In this video, we're going to be handling a comment that we got on from one of the other videos. So in my third ever video that I ever posted to this channel, it was about attacking. So this was where we showed you how to do the actual attacking. And right now, the way that the game is working is that if your character looks towards the mouse, and when you hold left click, it shoots your attack. But that's actually not how the Binding of Isaac works. The Binding of Isaac, you move with your left, like WASD, and then you can shoot in a specific direction, like up, right, down, or left with your arrow keys. So I'm going to set that up today. It's not the way that Stick Wizard is going to work for me, but I will show you how to do it. And then you could do that if you want to, or you could just leave it the way it is. It is better for controller because on a controller, I mean, I guess not, because you can still move with your left joystick and aim with your right joystick. I don't know. For some people, it might be easier to use like the buttons. It's very unique to the game, The Binding of Isaac. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. And then if you want, you can use that version, and I'll just leave the code there. And then maybe we'll just have like a variable. So like if you want to turn that mode on, you can. And then if you want to turn this mode that it already has on, then you can. You could also maybe have it like, so like if you pick up an item like directed tiers, marked, I think it's called, in The Binding of Isaac, you could have the aimed mode turn on or whatever. But obviously the aimed mode is not going to work the same as it does like on controller. There's no mouse, so that's not going to ever be a thing for a controller. And a game like this, like you got to have controller kind of working. So maybe we'll leave it the other way. I have no idea, but it doesn't really matter to me that much. But great. So here we are in the player movement script. This is where our character actually looks at the mouse. So you can see here, there's a section where we create an invisible plane on the ground. We cast a ray at the plane with our mouse position, and then we use the ray cast on the imaginary plane. It's not the same as like a real game object plane. It's just like an imaginary plane to get where it hit here. And then we rotate our character to be that direction. So the first thing we would have to do is to comment this out or block it out. So to do this, we want to make this as a variable so that if we want to turn this on and off, we can just do that. So right at the very top, we're going to just have like a little section here, probably for things like debug mode and stuff like that. But let's just set a Boolean here. So we'll do public static bool, and we'll just call this arrow attack style. I don't know. Arrow, that's stupid. Mouse aim. I don't know what to call this. Anyway, we'll set this to false. So if mouse aim is false, that means that we're not going to be doing this. So what we need to do is right here, if not player.mouse aim, we would just turn this off so that, yeah. So because player mouse aim is off, then your character is not going to look at your mouse anymore. So did I save it? Maybe I didn't save it. Hang on, let me just see. No. Oh, because it's false already. So we want this to be if it's true. So if the player mouse aim is turned on, then it doesn't look at it. Okay. Okay. So here you can see if we move our mouse around the character, it no longer aims towards the mouse. Then the next thing we need to do is we need to go into the project settings. Project setting. And so inside of the input manager right now, if you look at horizontal, for example, we have left and right, but we also have A and D. So we want horizontal to only be A and D. So we need to take the negative button and put it as the top one, and D can go into this. So we're basically removing right and left from the input manager, because right now, if you press left or right or A or D, they both trigger the character to be moving, but we don't want that anymore because we're going to be using the arrow keys to do the attacks. So do the same thing with this as well. And then, so if you save this now, you should be able to no longer move with the arrow keys. So like you can move with WASD, but the arrow keys do nothing. So then back in the input manager, now we need to set up a new thing for attacking. So let's just minimize all this stuff. Duplicate array element. Okay, cool. So we're going to change the name to horizontal attacking. And so the negative button for this will be left. So you could also put left arrow. It's like left space arrow according to the internet. Okay, so now when we hit left or right, this horizontal attacking is going to happen. And so then we need to do the same thing for vertical attacking. So let's duplicate this one and we'll call it vertical attacking. And we want to do the same thing. So down will be negative, up will be positive. We don't need to have any extra stuff. And then we're not going to worry about the controller right now. At some point, I'll have an entire video on how to do controller stuff, but we're not doing that right now. But you do need to put this as a separate thing because you're going to want to change this later and you will want the controller to be working. And if you don't do it like this, like you could read keys from the keyboard and you could technically do it that way, but we're not going to do that. So this should make it work. So then we just need to go back into the code and find our player attack script. I feel like this is going to be a really short video. So inside of the player attack script, we can, we're going to input cards at some point as well, by the way. We've got cards in the game where you can pick them up already, but you can't really do anything with them. So we actually want to only do this part. So if player dot mouse aim is true, then we're going to do this, but else we'll check for the input horizontal attacking. So we want to do this, but before we do this, we want the character to rotate to the direction. So we're just going to set transform. Okay, we need to figure out if they're looking to the left or the right. Input dot get axis raw horizontal attacking. Cannot convert flow to a bool. Okay, so is less than 0. So if it's less than 0, then we want our character to look to the left. So transform.rotation is going to get, no, it's a quaternion.euler. These are just guesstimate numbers, by the way. I don't know if this is going to face the correct direction. So then else, if so we could just put else. So else, we're going to return from the update method because we don't want this attack to happen if the character isn't rotated, because we only want him to be attacking when he actually presses a button. So we're going to so if this is true, and I mean, I guess you don't really need this part if this is happening, because it's not get button. Let's just get rid of this. I don't think this is even needed. We don't need that part. Hang on, let me just put this in here. We actually have to separate this because the stuff below this is not going to happen otherwise. So if it's equal to 0, so if it's not equal, okay, so this is better. So if the horizontal attacking, which we just declared in the input manager, is not equal to 0, then we're going to get which direction it's going, and then we're going to rotate our character immediately to that direction, and then we're going to do an attack. Now, we're probably going to have to update this because we don't want to immediately turn the rotation of the character in a direction. We want to probably slurp between, like, you want him to smoothly turn. He shouldn't immediately turn the direction, but let's just see how it looks, and we'll go from there. So, F. Okay. So you can see it's working, but it's opposite. So we need 90 and negative 90 probably. So this is working, but the wrong keys. So we want this to be, let's pause out of this. So this should be 90. And then this should be 270, or you could also do negative 90. Okay, so right now it's backwards. Also, it looks like the thing no longer aligns. Like the animation of the staff is maybe not perfectly aligning. I'm not sure. Okay, so let's pause out of this. So this is still backwards. So we want to do 270 here and 90 here. And then we want to just copy paste this and do the same thing because we already had this. So we'll just change this to vertical attacking. And we'll put that here. And then this is going to be 0 and 90. Or sorry, 0 and 180. And all right, let's see. Okay, again, it's opposite directions. Should have known that. I just did this. So this should be 180 and this can be 0. Right, so we attack to the right, we attack to the left. We single click, it works. And we attack to the down. So then you can only really face in the one direction on each side. You might need to make the game easier if you do this, because right now the monsters are set up in a way where fighting them even with the aimed directions is a little bit difficult. Ooh, those are floating there. That's not good. Oh, that does make it harder. And you know what? I guess the difficulty's okay. Because part of the problem with the game The Binding of Isaac is, like, for skeletons, for example, if they're in the same column as you, you kind of have to line up with them to attack them. And when you line up with them, that's when they're able to hit you. I probably need to make some type of trigger on the attacks to because they're if it doesn't trigger during the impact, it should be on trigger stay instead of on trigger enter. So, oh, this is gonna probably do. Oh no, it didn't. Okay, we're good. All right, so this is just me coming back from the future because there's something that I forgot to add. So the player state, you also have to check that the player state is set to idle before you do the attack. So the update method happens once per frame. So we don't want to call this attack every single frame. We want to call this only when the player has done their attack, they can go and do another attack. And so then at the bottom here as well, we're setting a last attack time to be the current time when we do the attack. And then if we're holding the fire button and 0.2 seconds goes by, we'll set the state back to idle. This makes it so that the attack actually like aligns with the, because you see, I don't know if you could see it earlier, but the little circle, the half circle that's going down the staff wasn't aligning. So this actually makes it so that it aligns. So I don't know if you can see that. It's different. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. The entire project is going to be available for download for free in the description of the video. So you're welcome to download the entire project and use whatever you want to, however you want to. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.